Hello everyone, welcome to ABC Interactive English. I'm Mike.
And I'm Sam.
And I'm feeling great, Sam.
That's good.
That medicine really worked. I went to bed last night. I slept for 26 hours.
Oh, wow.
26 hours.
So you skipped a day.
I did. That's why it's really late today, because I actually overslept. But I'm feeling good, which is good news because Seymour, remember from our dialogues, he's not feeling so good. Yesterday, remember, he had a swollen ankle, and maybe he bumped his head. He banged his head. Doesn't seem to be too bad. Hopefully, his ankle is feeling better because today he's having some let's just call them stomach problems. But the problems really don't show up so much in your stomach as they show up below your stomach when you go to the bathroom and things come out of you that you don't want coming out in a way that's not nice. Do you know what I mean?
So I'm thinking that he may have some kind of food poisoning or stomach bug, something like that.
That's right. Food poisoning is a good guess. A stomach bug, right? That can also be an infection. Sometimes with the flu, you can get that. But yeah, sometimes just you eat some dirty food or drink some dirty water. Maybe it wasn't prepared or cleaned properly. Things like seafood sometimes, you know, old chicken, vegetables that weren't washed really well.
Water and ice in some countries.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Like sometimes they tell you don't drink the water in a certain country, but then you forget that the ice is probably made with that water.
Good point.
And then you drink that and then you feel not so great.
Yeah, that's why we're told to boil our water, not to have hot water, even though that's fine if you do, but even if you want to cool the water down, you should boil it first. Because you don't want to end up with, should we say it together? 1, 2, 3, 4. Diarrhea.
Oh, I was going to say food poisoning.
Diarrhea, which is a wonderful word I think we're going to learn very soon. Let's check it out. Ooh, I got to go to the bathroom. Seymour is at a hospital emergency room.
I'm in a world of pain, doctor. I have a high fever, a terrible headache, and horrible diarrhea.
When did you first experience those symptoms?
The diarrhea started after my skin turned all red and itchy, and that happened after dinner.
Okay, so I hope everyone is feeling brave. This is something that maybe not nice to talk about, but I can say with confidence that 100% of us will face this problem at some time in our lives.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you'll get a swollen ankle, but you will have stomach problems. So let's see a doctor about our problems. This is part B. We have, yes, the same patient, poor Seymour.
Yeah.
This guy is unlucky. He's having a bad time. He had a swollen ankle yesterday. And let's find out why Seymour is at a hospital emergency room. Oh my gosh, this is a pretty serious thing. This isn't a visit to your family doctor like yesterday. It's a visit to the hospital and the emergency room. Maybe he even took an ambulance to get there. He rushed there. He's in a lot of medical trouble, pain, something's going on. He needs to see a doctor now. And so he explains, I'm in a world of pain, doctor. In other words, I'm hurting a lot. I have a lot of pain. I'm in a world of pain. And he starts to describe his symptoms. Remember the signs of his sickness. He doesn't know what it is, but this is what he's feeling. I have a high fever, a terrible headache, and horrible diarrhea. Oh, yeah. So he's got a high fever, a high temperature, a headache, his head hurts, feels like it's pounding. And then when he goes to the bathroom, bad things happen. Horrible diarrhea.
Yes, and those are two words that you hope you never have to say to a doctor because they do not go together very well.
Cute puppy, good. Horrible diarrhea,
not good. So we have this word horrible. Horrible is an adjective, and it just basically means really, really bad in this type of situation. We can use it in other ways because it does come from the word horror. You can say horrible, something like, oh, a horrible monster. It's very scary, a terrible monster. But in general, it just means very bad, terrible, awful. And so we use it to describe things that are not pleasant. which in this case would be diarrhea.
Absolutely.
And so Seymour, unfortunately, again, is not just at a family doctor. He is all the way at an emergency room. He had to get there really quick.
Yeah, and this actually could be serious. I mean, we joke about it and we might have it for a day or two, but if you really do have it in a bad way, this could be actually very dangerous, because diarrhea is basically when you're going to the bathroom, the second part, the part where stuff comes out of your bum. And it's a lot, and it's very watery, and it's just sort of coming out of you because you've had a bad stomach. I mean, if you have this for days, you can actually get dehydration, right? Because you're losing all that water. So it's a really horrible experience when you have it. Most people, hopefully it only lasts a few hours. Take a break, don't eat anything, sip some water, that kind of thing. But basically, it's that watery poop that comes out of you when you're really sick. That's what diarrhea is. And it's got that weird spelling. But yeah, diarrhea. You don't have to say like an H sound. It's all there in the dia and the rhea.
Yes, and so Seymour is going to see a different doctor from our first doctor. Yes. So now we have Dr. Gray. Okay. And so then Dr. Gray asks, when did you first experience those symptoms? So she needs to figure out how early or how long ago did this start? Because like you said, if you actually have diarrhea for more than a couple days, it could be super dangerous, because if you're that dehydrated, it could be really bad. Yeah, in that case, he might have to go straight into the hospital. But if it's only a day or something, well, maybe some medicine will help. When she said experience those symptoms, basically, when did you start feeling sick? That's kind of what she's trying to figure out, the timeline here. And Seymour tells her in a very sort of clear way, which is good and helpful. The diarrhea started after my skin turned all red and itchy. And that, the red itchy skin, and that happened after dinner. Aha, all right. Well, now we're kind of getting to some of the interesting, useful facts here. Like a detective, he noticed first, though, that he had red itchy skin. And when something is itchy, well, it's an itch and you want to scratch it. Yep. Yeah, I got a mosquito bite on my finger right here. It's super itchy. I got it yesterday. I'm so mad. For sure. It's so itchy. If you eat some food that doesn't agree with you, if you get bitten by insects, if maybe you're wearing clothing that has soap on it, if you don't wash your clothes properly, all sorts of things can make your skin itchy. Just, being a human, sometimes like, oh, can you scratch my back? It feels very itchy. But if it's red, if you have little bumps, if it doesn't go away, if it's driving you crazy, that's the kind of thing that would definitely make you see a doctor. And if it happens after dinner, yeah, it could be something that you ate in that dinner. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when we come back from our break here.
I see. Did you happen to have seafood for dinner?
Yes, I had some fish and shrimp. Why?
I think you ate some bad seafood because you have a serious case of food poisoning.
Am I going to die?
No, I'll give you some medicine to treat it.
All right, so we are back with Seymour. Today he's sick Seymour. Yesterday was swollen Seymour. Today he's sick Seymour. He's got diarrhea. He's got bad things happening in his stomach. He also had an itchy rash. Yep. Right? That's what we call that red part of your body on your skin that you want to itch, a rash. And he had a headache, and it all kind of started after he had dinner before. Yes, and so our doctor is kind of putting these puzzle pieces together and thinking, I might know what's wrong with you. And so Dr. Gray says, I see. Did you happen to have seafood for dinner? So again, we're trying to figure out one more piece of the puzzle to figure out why he's sick and what's wrong with him actually. And so she asks about seafood. So seafood is a noun, and it just means food that comes from the sea. And so anything that you might eat that's like fish or crabs or lobsters or shrimp or clams or any of this kind of food that comes from the water, that would be called seafood. Of course, it doesn't always have to come just from the ocean. You could still call fish that you got out of a river or a lake, that would still be considered seafood. So just any food that comes from water. Yeah, basically we use it in the same way we would talk about beef or pork or chicken or seafood. Because there are so many things in the oceans and the lakes and rivers we eat, it's much easier just to call them this group. But of course, we would talk about the specific type of seafood if we're ordering it in a restaurant. You wouldn't just say, I'll have the seafood. Because then they'll say, well, what do you want? The fish or the lobster? And we'll get to that right now because Seymour says, yes, I had some seafood. And then he gets specific with the type of seafood. I had some fish and shrimp. And then he asks, why? Why are you asking me about this? Why do you think there's a connection here? Well, Seymour, maybe because you had fish and shrimp. You had these types of seafood. What are shrimp? They're cute little things that live in the ocean, and they have little arms and they look like insects. They're kind of like a small lobster. You can have shrimp. You can also have prawns.
Yeah,
which
prawns
are very similar.
are the bigger size. Is that the only difference? I don't know the difference between prawns.
I think
and
British
shrimp.
people call them prawns, American people call them shrimp, and French people call them langoustine. But they're basically the same thing. You throw them in hot water, they turn pink. You take the skin of the shell off, you eat them. They're delicious. You can go fish for them outside the city in Taiwan. It's wonderful. Everyone loves shrimp, but sometimes your stomach doesn't like shrimp and your body can have a bad reaction to it, and we think that might be what's happening here.
Yes, and so one of the kind of common ways to get food poisoning is if the seafood is bad or improperly cooked or improperly stored or any of this kind of stuff. And so they usually say to be careful when you're eating seafood. And so Dr. Gray says, I think you ate some bad seafood because you have a serious case of food poisoning. So she's like, I think that you had some bad seafood, and this, we say a case of food poisoning. It means like you are sick right now with food poisoning, and she says it's very serious because obviously he really doesn't feel well and has had to come into the emergency room. So it is a serious case, not just a mild case.
That's right, and if it's serious, it's at sort of a high level, maybe a dangerous level. You don't want to hear the doctor say a serious case of when they're talking about you. You would rather have a mild case or a minor case. That's very small, not too bad, not too dangerous. Serious, it could be. So that's why Seymour asks this question, am I going to die? Or more like, am I going to die?
Yeah, see how panicked he might be.
Serious seafood poisoning, this is gonna kill me, right?
Well, luckily, Dr. Gray calms him down and says, no, I'll give you some medicine to treat it.
Medicine?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So luckily, in the case of food poisoning and this type of thing, there are many ways to treat that illness, that sickness. And so we have this word treat, which is a verb, and it means to cure or to take care of or to try to fix some problem that you might have. And so we use this word when we're talking about injuries or illnesses or things like that. So again, his ankle from before, you might treat it with ice and being wrapped. His food poisoning, you might be treating it with medicine, as Dr. Gray said, that will help calm all of his insides down so that he doesn't feel so sick anymore.
Exactly. It's these actions they'll take to help you start to feel better. And in fact, for the noun, we would just say treatment, right?
Yes.
These are the things they will do to make you get better. And yes, treating a cut finger is much easier than treating cancer. But in both cases, they can treat you, they can do things, give you medicine, therapy, surgery, whatever you need to get better. And we hope he gets better soon because he's got a big shrimp eating competition on the weekend.
Oh.
And he really wants to join that. So,
well.
yeah, Seymour, good luck, man. Stay away from the seafood buffet for a few days. I think that's probably good advice. Take care, guys. We're going to be back tomorrow with more of Unlucky Seymour's horrible month at the hospital. We'll see you then. Seymour is at a hospital emergency room.
I'm in a world of pain, doctor. I have a high fever, a terrible headache, and horrible diarrhea.
When did you first experience those symptoms?
The diarrhea started after my skin turned all red and itchy, and that happened after dinner.
I see. Did you happen to have seafood for dinner?
Yes, I had some fish and shrimp. Why?
I think you ate some bad seafood because you have a serious case of food poisoning.
Am I going to die?
No, I'll give you some medicine to treat it.
Hello, I'm Tina. 我们来看一下这一课的重点单字。第一个 horrible， 这是形容词，糟糕的。I had a horrible date with John last weekend. 上周末我和 John 的约会很糟糕。下一个单字 seafood， 名词，海鲜。More and more people buy seafood online now. 现在越来越多人在网络上购买海鲜。下一个单字 shrimp， 名词，虾子。复数我们可以说 shrimp， 也可以说 shrimps. The kids are having a competition to see who can eat the most shrimp. 小朋友们在比赛，看谁可以吃最多的虾子。Competition 在这里是名词，比赛。最后一个单字 treat， 动词，治疗。The doctor couldn't treat the rare disease. 医生无法治疗这种罕见疾病。接着我们来看一下重点文法。第一个 a world of something， 许多的、大量的某个事物。World 在这里习惯用单数，所以它后面的名词也必须使用单数形式哦。我们来看一下这个片语怎么用。下面有一个情境，班上呢有一片窗户打破了，被同学打破了，老师非常生气，想要找出他到底是谁。这个时候我们就可以说 He's in a world of trouble， 他麻烦大了。下一个文法 Somebody happens to 加动词，某人刚好要做某事。Happen to 表示刚好。正巧，我们来看一下这个例句。Larry happens to be a friend of mine. I'll introduce you to him. Larry 刚好是我朋友，我会把你介绍给他。下一个文法 a case of something， 某个症状的案例。Case 在这里是可数名词，表示的是病例或者是案例。Jasmine had a bad case of frostbite last winter. Jasmine 去年冬天有严重的冻疮。以上就是这一课的重点单字跟文法，我们下一课再见喽，拜拜。
Hello, I'm Matt.
And I'm Toy.
Today we're playing Word Drop. We each have 3 cards with words on them that we have not looked at yet, and we need to fit these words into a conversation as smoothly as we can. So I guess I'll get the conversation started.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me think.
Should I start?
No, it's all right. Yeah, I was watching a movie the other day, and it was a scary movie. So there was a monster in the movie, and I really don't like scary movies. So when the monster came out, it was just, I was like very scared of it because its appearance was really bad, and it was horrible.
Horrible. Well, I mean, yeah, if a costume is really that bad, sometimes the sea creature type of movies are the worst in terms of the costumes, especially if the costume is a shrimp.
Shrimp? Well, a shrimp monster would be scary. I would try to, I wouldn't like to see a shrimp monster. But yeah, I think that'd be especially scary for me. Because usually I find that, I don't even like to eat shrimp or other kinds of things like fish and that. And really I don't like to eat any seafood.
Really? That's really interesting. For me, growing up, I was able to grow up with a lot of Southern hospitality and a lot of Southern food. And so for me, whenever I would go to Alabama to see my grandfather, it was always, he always treated us to a huge bowl of shrimp and grits.
Oh, that's very nice to have some good comfort food when you go to see your family. And I always found that I really like to go when I go home and my mom cooks some home-cooked food. And especially, you know, when you're sick, sometimes you need to have some nice food, like some nice warm soup to warm you up. Especially, you know, last time when my mom made some nice soup for me when I had a bad case of the cold.
Really?
Yes.
Well, yeah. Well, for me, whenever I got sick, my mom would always, she had a good pharmacist. It's like she happened to know the pharmacist that was one of the founders of one of the best cold medicines in Texas.
Wow, okay. Was that happen to know? Is that...
Yeah,
Okay.
happened to know.
See you next time.